so now the fun begins. Let's go ahead and create a page inside of our application that lists all Cineasts who have directed any movies. And then from there, we'll create a show page for that director, listing all of the movies that they've directed. So let's hit Command P and type in routes to jump into our routes file. Underneath our movie show page, let's go ahead and add in an additional page. So router.get/ we'll call this directors. And then if we stop and take a look at our controllers, we don't have a controller applicable for this. So let's dive into our terminal and let's run node ace make controller directors. And then we'll also want to stub it with a method called index. So we'll add index there to the end of this command. Let's run that. There we go. So now we have a directors controller with an index method stubbed inside of it. So we can type out directors controller, hit tab to auto import that just like so. And once we save that, we'll switch to the correct lazy import here. And we'll use the index method there, since this will be our listing page that will list all directors that we have as directors.index. And once we save, we saw this switch from an orange tint to a purple tint, indicating that it did switch to a lazy import. We'll hold Option down to switch that to down below our router import there to keep all of our controller imports together. Jump over to our directors controller, and there is our stubbed index method. Out of our HTTP context, let's grab our view, and let's go ahead and just start by returning view render pages/directors/show. Let's create that page real quick. While we're here, we can also go ahead and delete out the movies that we have inside of our resources movies directory. So we'll delete there, move that to the trash. And let's go ahead and right click that, new file, add a folder called directors/ and whoops, we're still on the index method. So we'll want that to be called index, not show. My bad there. So index.edge. Let's jump back into our directors controller and fix that real quick. So instead of show, we do want this to be called index. Okay, there we go. So we'll do at layout, at end our layout, and we'll just do an H1 of directors so that we have something listing out for this page. Let's go ahead and dive into our partials for our navigation. And let's add in an additional anchor, href, pointing to our route directors.index. And we'll call this directors. Okay, give that a save. We should now be able to jump into our terminal, npm run dev to boot up our server. Let's open up our browser. Okay, here's our home page. If we click into directors now, we get an H1 with directors. Awesome. Let's hide that back away, jump back into our text editor, and let's go back to our directors controller. Let's do const directors equals await. We'll want to query from our Cineast model. So we'll import that. We're going to want to use the Cineast model's query builder. Now we're going to want to query all Cineasts who have a movie where they are the director ID. So we're going to want to use, if we dive into our Cineast model, the movies directed relationship to check and see whether or not they have any records. So for that, we could do where has to check the existence of a relationship. And look at that. Whenever we hit the strings, we get IntelliSense popping up that we have movies directed available to us. And if we needed to, we could provide a callback function as the second argument here to extend the movies directed query to add additional statements to those movies. For example, if the Cineast has only directed movies that aren't out yet, maybe we don't want to include them in this list. So we could go ahead and apply a query scope to our movies directed relationship from our movies query. And this will be our movies query builder here. So we have access to our scope.released query scope. Now, if we hit save, the red squigglies are just due to formatting. So there we go. And now we should have directors who have directed any movie that's already been released. And so we can provide that into our directors index as directors. Let's dive back into that page. And for now, let's just do a UL at each to loop over them. Director in directors at end our each. And then we'll do an li in here with our director full name. Give that a save and let's go check it out to see if everything worked. Jump back into our browser. And there we go. Now at this point, it's a little bit of a random list. We don't have any sorting going on. So let's fix that real quick. Hide that back away. Jump back into our directors controller. And to the end of our query here, we can add on a dot order by, and we're going to want to order by two columns, the first name and then the last name. We cannot order by a computed property because it does not actually exist inside of the database. So we can provide an array into this. And in the first index, we specify the column that we first want to order by, which would be our first name. And the default direction is going to be ascending, but if we need to change that, or if we want to explicitly set it, we can set it to order by ascending. And then we can add in a second index here, where the second column that we want to order by is last name with the order of ascending there as well. We can give that a save. And so we'll first order by our first name. And then once it's done ordering by first name, if we have any Cineast record using the same first name, they'll then be ordered by the last name. Cool, so let's jump back into our browser, give that a refresh, and there we go. So now they are listed in alphabetical order. Now we need to be able to click into them and show a details page with the movies that they have directed listed out. So we'll hide this back away. So let's scroll down a little bit here, and let's do a public show page. We'll grab view out of that, as well as our params, HTTP context, and we'll go ahead and return view, render, pages, directors, show. Before we go any further, let's define the route for this. So we'll dive back into our routes. Underneath our directors route, we'll do router.get directors / and we don't have a slug for our directors. And it's possible that directors could have the same first name and last name. So for right now, we'll just need to do ID there. And we can use the directors controller and specify the show method there as directors show. Let's round out our circle by diving back into our directors index page. And let's add a link around our full name here. So we'll do a href route directors show. And let's add the param ID of director.id. We'll end our anchor and move that end tag down below our director full name. Then we'll need to create our show page. So I'm just going to copy everything that we have here because it's going to be relatively similar. And we can right click our directors page, new file, show.edge, paste that in. Instead of directors up here, this will instead be director dot, and we can list out their full name. And then for our loop, let's just jump back into our home page and let's copy our div where we're using our cards. Jump back into our director show page, highlight this, give that a paste, and we can get rid of our UL. Cool. Now, instead of coming soon, this will just be all of their movies like so. So we can give that a save. And let's jump into our movie card as well, because we're still using Pixum here, but we have actual poster URLs tied to our movie now. So we can replace that Pixum poster URL there as well. Close that out because we're done with it. Jump back into our director's controller and let's add in the query to get our director from our ID parameter and their directed movies. So const director equals await cineast dot find or fail params.id. So we'll find or fail our cineast by their primary key ID column provided into our route parameter ID value. This also needs to be an async method. There we go. So we can go ahead and add in our director into our state for our page. And now we need to get their movies. So we can do await. And for this, we can reach through this director to get their related movies via its relationship. So we could do director dot related to reach through a relationship. And we specifically want to use the movies directed relationship here, dot query to get that relationship's query builder. So now this is a movie query builder using the relationship bound to this specific director. So let's go ahead and order by that movie's title. Okay. And let's add the movies into our page state there as well. We'll give that a save. Let's jump into our browser and see if we got everything right. So these are actual links. They aren't shown like that because of the Tailwind CSS reset, but let's go ahead and click into Clark Strozen because we were working with him in our last lesson. So we know that he is bound to 310 to Yuma. So we can click on him and look at that. His very first movie is 310 to Yuma. And now we have all of Clark Strozen's directed movies listed out on his page. Awesome. We'll add director to the start of the name just so that we have that explicit. So let's jump back into our show page here and let's do director full name. Okay, so now that should be director Clark Strozen. There we go. Awesome. So if we go back to our directors page, let's click on somebody else. There's another handful of movies. Click on somebody else, another handful of movies, and let's click on somebody else. And this person only has one. So they are one of the ones that we created using the with method with our movie factory. So cool, everything seems to work. And even furthermore, we can click in to see the movie's details page from each one of those.